I guess we're just about ready.
Hey, did you see a dark-haired guy run by here?
Dark-haired guy run by, Chief. Dark-haired guy go in the water. Shark in the water. Well, let it do, my wee Spanish ladies.
What are you talking about?
I'm talking about a heat ray.
What?
What? I'm talking about a great white chief. 2 ton of him, 20, maybe 25 footer.
There's no shark here.
Tell about that, Chief. Ever seen a shark's eyes, Chief? Like those eyes, all black and lifeless like. 29 kids go in the water. 22 kids come out of the water. The ice cream man, he take the rest. April the 9th, 4:30 for him.
Wait. Show me your arm.
You want to see my arm, Chief? That's my arm right there, Chiefy.
Yeah, that's my favorite. That's not Jaws, by the way. That's that movie. It was just a parody of a scene of Jaws from that guy from. I can't remember. I can't even remember. Dana Garvey, where he was the master of disguise. That's what that was. Dana Garvey. That was a clip from Dana Garvey, master of disguise. In fact, I should write that on here. Dana Garvey. And soundtrack. Yeah, that definitely was some jukebox gold. So here we are. It's June 3rd, 2021. And here in the former United States,
Tony Caravan. You've been subjected to a highly sophisticated form of propaganda.
It's just what you need, not what you don't.
And we may be talking with the guy who was the lead voice on that. But in the meantime, I'm just going to try to
Really funny. Really funny.
just have a little bit of laugh. Yeah, what do you mean you're funny? I tell you, you are funny. I got a few new things. Here's one. I know this guy's not listening, so this is just funny. Sometimes I record things that come in on the answering machine.
Hey, Tony, this is Jamie. Hey, we need to have you pick up a menu and do the revisions. Our prices aren't right on the internet. If you're still alive, let me know.
The kicker is if you're still alive. I hadn't talked to him. That's an older clip, but I hadn't talked to him in a long time. That was the town I used to live in. One of the guys from the Irish pub I was a regular at. I used to do their graphic stuff. Here's another one of my favorites. I just thought I'd get into this. This is the radio theme today. If you looked at the card.
I took a vow of peace. And now you want me to help you kill all these men? Yes, Padre. I'll see what I can do.
More solid gold music.
Minus the music, of course. Anyway, let's do what we usually do. I check the charge on my cell phone. It's up to about 62%. I can't take a call in until I get that up to speed. The title of the show is Early Webcasting Doom and Gloom, not necessarily interconnected or in any order. It's a free flow of consciousness about the early days of this thing we call webcasting, with a call in by the legendary Tatu, possibly, if he gets up. I don't know. I reread his email and it's like, don't call me before 6:30 my time, which is like an hour or more whatever. So we'll see if he calls in later on or what's going on with that. Plus the usual rambling and keys to improving your lot in life. So I guess that's kind of where we're going to begin. That and a bunch of just general mayhem. I used to do these expeditions and I get call-ins from all parts of the world. And I was basically the these were mountain climbers and people on expeditions climbing the Himalayas and stuff like that. And this was one. I'm not sure if this was I don't think this was a Himalayan climb or not, but like this was always a classic.
Hi, this is Kaz on the Choyo OU expedition. We've, in less than a week, left Kathmandu, experienced the craziness of the crossing of the Chinese border. We've gone from low jungle waterfall lands up into the high Tibetan plateau. We're sitting in the desert now and looking at a blue sky day. The team's doing great, and we'll keep you updated. Thanks. Bye.
The key is blue sky day, but you know, that's filled with like so much stuff. And that was from the Choyu expedition. So it was a Himalayas thing. I spent, years doing that stuff. In fact, developed the technology. It was like, no one else seemed to have it. And then we started getting live video later on, like a couple years later into it. And our video feeds from like the South Pole and North Pole and places like that, particularly like the Antarctica, were better than you'd see on like when CNN would have somebody calling from overseas or something. Our videos were clean and crisp, and I used a proprietary setup that I just designed out of, necessities, the Frank Zappa of invention. And it worked. And I always wondered to this day why they never, and this was before, people had internet and all that kind of stuff was ubiquitous around the world and stuff. And it just cracked me up that we were better than the networks.
This calls for some big scratching.
So anyway, that's that. A little bit of Henry Kissinger now.
It's an excursion into the odd and into the very, very different.
63% charged on the old phone. And I've got the doctor drink today. But I guess I will put another ice cube in there and mix it with a splash of the Michael Jackson favorite. This is birthday week, as I've mentioned yesterday. So I had my first happy hours yesterday. Have another one later this week. But I basically started at noon. It was like a noon to 3 happy hours. So when you do something like that, your hangover kind of hits you around 5 or 6 at night, or 6 or I don't know, whatever. Took a couple Tylenol, fell asleep. You go to bed at 6:30, you wake up at 2:30, which I did, but I just laid in bed and didn't roll out of bed till about 4:30. So I'm feeling not exactly 100%. But I'm not feeling that bad, generally speaking. I think this monitor was tilted the other day because I was trying to get more of this monitor on. We want to make sure you can see Eyes Without a Face and the Codex book and Great Solar stuff. And Maggie's back there. I don't know what she's getting. What's she getting hidden by? Oh, there she is. My shirt. Looks like she's like smoking a e-cigarette or something. And of course, that's the Ph.D, which I don't know how many of those things people picked up or not, if they did. Hard to say. So I've got an old radio receiver on the title card today, and I can't show you any video, any clips, because turn off that audio. Because if I did, it would screw up with the bandwidth for if we do get a call in at some point. So, because I use the iPhone keynote to basically mirror the iPhone on this back screen. So if you're new to this, that's how we do that. Or you don't have no idea what I'm talking about. Either way, it doesn't matter because we're not doing it today, so it's okay. So maybe a couple caffeines in me, another 5 or 10 minutes, get that phone charged. We'll hook that up and away we go.
You're listening to Tony Caravan Live.
But yeah, like I said, I've been doing this stuff, for so long. For so like, that it's hard to believe, how long I've been in front of a microphone. I started when I was in high school. I was it was like a private high school type of thing. It wasn't some elitist thing or anything, but it was, and so I used to push the limit. So I'd push the limit, long hair, and then towards the end, like my senior year or something, I started growing a mustache. So I've had this thing forever. I shaved this thing off only once in my entire life. And I let it grow right back, so it's like mustache. They call that soul patch. It's almost a goatee, but it's a little bit lighter down here. But anyway, the hair was long. And so they kicked me out of, you had to have, they had a strict dress code and grooming code in that school. Excuse me. And so I would push the limit. I think I told this once in another video. I would push the limit. I'd be wearing like yellow pants and a ridiculous, colored tie or something. But all they said is you had to have, slacks, tie and a sport jacket. So I'd find the most outrageous sport jackets, ties, and slacks you could possibly have. Excuse me. It's part of the show. I guess it's nothing for you. Anyway, so I get kicked out of school one day because my hair was too long. They sent me to the barber. I went to the barber shop middle afternoon. The guy thought I was, cutting school or something. I said, no, they sent me down. They said, I said, just give me a haircut, but just take it up to whatever it was, I don't know, a couple inches, there was some ridiculous thing. I said, just do it right to exactly what they want, And then I think I just went home. I never went back to class. But the principal, I used to run an underground newspaper in my high school. So it was like critical of the school. And like compared to things that are going on now, man, that was much different. I mean, I wish I had a copy of that thing. That got lost. If you watched yesterday's show and I showed that guy who was a hoarder where I left all my stuff in this building and this guy just trashed the place beyond trashing. All right. He took trashing and hoarding to another level. And I think I had some boxes of, things that I'd saved over the years there, including, my wardrobe, so to speak. Cowboy boots, that I bought out west, classic sport jackets, To this, I don't even own a tie now because I had a box of ties in there, you know, and jackets, and I had a tuxedo, you know. I mean, I don't even want to think about it. But yeah, I lost everything because of some doofus who to this day walks around apparently, you know, oblivious that he, you know, destroyed a couple of people's lives by destroying that building, which ended up selling for pennies on the dollar, or a penny on the dollar, because he destroyed it. But anyway, so this principle, I used to say how, you know, how these people today don't have, you know, they've got more administrators than teachers in like high schools and middle schools and grade schools. Well, they didn't have a middle school even when I went through. I went to grade school, 8th grade, and then I went to high school. The middle school kind of came in when I was in high school. So we had a principal, 2 office ladies, a janitor, and a gym teacher who doubled as the football coach. That was it. And then teachers. And you know, and like I say, that was the generation that brought all this technology to you. Because the people doing it now who are making 6 and 7 figures, they're not responsible for any of this. They just came along, right? And just benefited. .com thing, you know, guys who had a URL and sold it for $10 million or something. Just the domain name, right? And, you know, stuff like that. That's not to say that there weren't some classic geeks and coders who were still involved in the 90s and stuff like that. But, you know, we were all doing that. But I mean, generally speaking, all of this stuff was brought to you by people who didn't have these administrators indoctrinating, conditioning, and the, you know, the nanny state. So anyway, the principal of my school, kind of like, he was a decent guy. And so he might have thought, well, you know, this guy's wearing long hair. He's breaking the rules, and he's got the underground newspaper. Maybe we need to get him something positive so he doesn't turn into something, you know, whatever. Which was ridiculous because I was, you know, I mean, I was just a rock and roller, you know. I was playing in a band, and I wasn't going to go live a life of crime or something, but whatever. But the cool thing about him thinking that he was helping me in that regard, and in retrospect, he really did, was he called the local radio station, this 50,000 watt radio station, and he got me a job there. Like, I had a Sunday night radio show, a couple hours or something. And so in high school, that was my first radio job. And so that's how long I've been doing this kind of thing. Right? So imagine that. And so that guy gave me, basically, in effect, gave me my first break. And I don't know where it is. I think I brought it out once. I may have it in a wall in my bar, because I certainly don't see it around here. But you used to have an FCC license to be on the air back then. And there were different degrees of licenses, whether you were, excuse me, this chair's falling down again. Whether you were just on the air, or, you know, up to an engineer or something like that. It's hot in here today, and damp, because it's been raining for the past couple days. In fact, looking at the weather, as I normally do, today's a little bit of a slow start. Got some email here coming in, force opening the browser. So let's take a quick look at the weather. Things are a little sluggish here. I hope the quality of this broadcast is good. Yeah, it's 64 degrees. It's 5:57 a.m. in the morning Eastern Standard Time in the former United States. And it's already 64 degrees outside and muggy. And looks like it's calling to be cloudy all day with a chance of thunderstorm, 90% chance of thunderstorms. The high is going to get up to about 70, the overnight 61. And then I guess if you want it, weekend weather. We might as well look at what's ahead. Friday is a 50% chance of thunderstorms, 77 degrees. So it's probably going to start getting really muggy. 61 in the overnight Friday night. Saturday, sunny, 82, overnight 63, and Sunday 86 and overnight 64, and Monday's looking like 88, 66. So whereas Memorial Day weekend literally sucked for anybody who had plans and rented motels or whatever, this is the weekend you want to go because for all practical purpose, it's summer. Anyway, that's your weekend weather. All right, let's get back into it. Yeah, we're up to, we're kind of still at about 67% charge on my cell phone. What happened was I was listening to music in my bar playlist on my smartphone. Because I told you before, I don't have a chip, a cell phone. In fact, I took the chip out, canceled I had Verizon was my carrier back then. It's like the breathing thing. That's what I get the day after. I was smoking a couple of cigars. I know I shouldn't do that, but I like to have, if I'm having a couple of beers, I'll smoke a couple of cigars. It's not like I'm inhaling them deeply in the lungs, but it's, excuse me. It's just something, it's one of those things. I mean, I used to smoke 2 packs of cigarettes a day sometimes, but I quit that like 15, 20 years ago. So hopefully that part of it healed. Who knows? But yeah, at some point, if we decide when my phone gets up to speed, we'll wake up the guy who's the voice on this.
You got a rattlesnake inside your house. You got a rattlesnake inside your house. Oh yeah.
There's just one in here?
Yeah, I hope.
Call David Bailey now.
Hey, David Bailey! Well, Kingdom, eat your heart out.
No, it's not. It's not David Bailey. It's Tatu. And yeah, that's a true story. Yeah, rattlesnake. Rattlesnake. Imagine, going into your kitchen or wherever and seeing a freaking rattlesnake. But anything's possible. I mean, that's what it's like out, when you go out in the Southwest, it's the same with like scorpions. They've got some scary things out there. It's like bad enough, well, we got like brown recluse spiders and weird things like that, and they're nasty too. But, knock on wood, I haven't seen any we have rattlesnakes here, I guess, in the woods. Copperheads and all that kind of stuff. I have my yard pretty well overgrown because I like it that way, because it's kind of this like green tunnel now. It's starting to turn into a green tunnel. So I have total privacy. And it's like a nature refuge, But I don't know if that's and I've got rabbits and chipmunks and I feed the birds. But I keep thinking about that. So I don't like to mow the lawn because that's it's just not my scene. I don't like lawns to begin with. But because it's a long yard, even though I have a garden taking up, as big as my garden is, which is way more food than I could possibly eat. Right now, I have so much lettuce that I can't eat it. Some friend came down the other day and I filled a bag of lettuce with some radishes and some kale and some stuff in it. I mean, it just didn't even dent my garden. I've got a bag from 2 days ago I put in my refrigerator because I knew it was going to rain yesterday. I figured I wouldn't be going out picking things. And I ate some yesterday, and there's still like half, that bag's still half filled. And it's like, it's crazy. So, people who don't understand how, and I grew those from seeds. And, funniest thing about, lettuce seed is that you couldn't even see it. It's like, they're like a speck. I mean, literally, you could barely see the seed. That's how tiny it is. And when you first grow them, they come out and they look kind of like they're not going to survive. And I grew them. I started them indoors, and then I put them. I have this mini tart. I call it the TARDIS because it's the size of a TARDIS. I'll have a picture of it one of these days. I'm going to paint the back door kind of like the TARDIS, but I don't know what to do about the lettering. Because it's like the police box, whatever the top of the TARDIS says. So I don't know if I will see if I can order a decal or something for that. Or I could spend, I've hand painted signs before because it's one of my other things, my graphic design years. But I could do that. On a cloudy day when I got nothing better to do, take me like 3 hours or maybe take, 2-hour sessions on 2 different days. Getting all this email. It's 6 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. But what was I talking about? Oh, so even with that, only like barely a third of my yard. And I've got carrots, potatoes coming up. My squash plants look like they're going to take this year. Last year I had some problems with them, so I'm keeping my fingers crossed that they're going to actually yield. If they yield, that's insane. Anybody who's ever grown zucchini or yellow summer squash or whatever you call it. Kale. And of course, I've got peppers and tomatoes. And I have herbs like oregano and things like that look like bushes. 68%. Boy, this is the slowest charging I've ever seen on this phone. As long as I get it up to about 80%, I should be okay. It went down to like 16%. It said low power mode, push low power mode. So I don't know. This is an older iPhone. I might as well take it out of the thing and show you because I'll be using it. I have to move it anyway, eventually. Let's see if you can see it here. You barely see the top of it, but you get the idea that it's fairly thin. So it kind of looks like a newer iPhone, has that shape, but it's just old enough that it won't take the latest, the 13 or whatever the latest OS is for the phone. Which means there's certain apps that won't run on it, but I'm not a big app person. But there are a couple of apps that I would use, for certain things. Like I sometimes call, I don't do it often. It's a waste of money, but the Instacart thing, I don't know if you know what that is. You can order food from like supermarkets in the area. And there's one particular, it's fairly close to me, but it's just too far to walk. It would be like going through some kind of maze to get there. Maze of various neighborhoods and streets. It's like you'd be going this way, turn this way, this way, this way, this way. Plus, people have dogs, and all these people have these. This is a free flow of consciousness show today, folks. Tony Caravan Live. You've heard it.
You're listening to Tony Caravan Live.
And they have these pit bulls. And I don't know. I mean, this might not go over well at all, but I don't care. I just speak my mind. I think the pit bull should be bred out of existence. I've known people who've gotten bitten by pit bull, people who've had a pit bull. We're in a house with a pit bull that was like the house pit bull, but it was like maybe one, but just got into their arm and literally had to, get the jaws of life to get the thing off. And then, literally had their arm in a sling for 4 or 5 weeks. My nose is itchy for some reason. But people fight pit bull, they use them for dog fights. And they're just nasty dogs. And these people have them. And why breed an animal that's primarily a killer? I mean, I had the Doberman when I lived in DC, but that came with I lived in Capitol Hill, and that was kind of the job I had. There was a Doberman there, which was kind of like the house, protector dog, like in Magnum, remember and that was fine. And that dog was, it was scare. It used to scare people, but, it was calm. And I'm sure people who have Dobermans think they're cute when they're puppies and, it's their dog and stuff. But anyway, so make a long story longer, there's like this mini shopping center. It's not, there's like a Dollar Tree, Save a Lot, grocery store, some other kind of store, a little liquor store. The liquor store is comical. It's like, because it's in like a low rent type area. So there's an entire row of like cheap rum, an entire row of cheap vodka, an entire row of cheap whiskey. I mean, literally the same bottle, the whole row. First time I went in there, I said, I couldn't believe it. And I didn't have because I don't carry that phone with me because I don't have cell service with it. I wish I could have taken a picture of it. But anyway, a few times that I did walk to that place, to that store, the Dollar Tree or something, there were, it was like a maze to get there. And there were too many yards where they had these dogs that were like half jumping over the fence at me and stuff like that. And I'm going, and I'd love to do it too, because it was like a 2-mile walk or so. And, be good exercise and everything. And it has more stuff than the supermarket I walk to, which just is like a mile or so round trip. But anyway, so suddenly I discovered that this Instacart or whatever the hell it's called, I'm not sponsored by them. You go online and you can just, order stuff that they have and they deliver it to you. And it's, you don't even have to see the guy. You leave him a tip, like a 15% tip, like online. The driver, and they just leave it at your front door. Never see the guy. And the last time I ordered, because I guess the store's closed, I got the stuff within like an hour, And I think the most of them come within like 3 hours or something. So it's like, that is one of the things about today, is that same day delivery of stuff is insane. And it can't be healthy for people because it's, now that you get everything in your house, it's like, why leave the house? Not that many people can leave the house, like, through the lockdown thing and stuff like that, but it's like lockdown to get conditioned to stay within your cubicle, and then roll out all these things that make, this cubicle your gilded cage. Like I was saying before too. Again, if you're new to this show, that happens at least a dozen times, the clearing of the throat. And the belching is not far away. And it's hot in this room, and my ice cubes are melting, and it's not just... So this is one time it's actually not just from the electromagnetic radiation. Yeah. So I guess in that sense...
This is a nightmare. It must be a nightmare.
We're up to 70% charge on the iPhone. It's almost like a I have it somewhere. I don't know if it's on. I don't know why your voice gets a lot deeper. If after you're drinking too.
After he's talked, we must get rid of him immediately.
After he's talked, we must get rid of him immediately. Did I say
good morning?
Hey, it's me. How you doing, man?
Well, I'm doing okay. I'm doing this thing. It's just like this countdown to charging, and it's the slowest charge I've ever seen of a cell phone. So I'm afraid my battery is finally going. And that's how I started that whole thing off. So, when the new version, here's the one of the early original phones. It's almost like a brick. Look how thick it is. Right. Still works. I have music on it. It won't take most apps. The Black Mirror, you can see me on there. But I bought that one, and I think I paid $350 for it or something like that. And when it first came out, it was a pain. You paid for it, and you were locked into like a 2-year service contract with like AT&T or Verizon. I think I had Verizon. And it wasn't like, you get the contract and you get a free phone like they do with people now, or something like that. But about, I don't know how long into having the phone, I dropped it and the glass shattered completely. It wasn't usable. So I had to send it back in. And in order to send it back in, I had credit card at the time, credit cards. And so they had to put $350 or something, whatever, again on my credit cards. It's a good thing I had the credit before they would do it, take it back. And they ended up not fixing it. They just send you a new phone. But yeah, I've had this thing a long time. I guess about... I don't know, 6 years. That's long to have a phone, something like that. About 6 or 7 years. So it would make sense that the battery would start to go about now. But it's worked out fine for me. Like I say, I don't have a phone. I use Magic Jack, which I'm not sponsored by either. This is demonetized, by the way. There's no money coming in from this. But I only pay $40 a year for phone service. And it's what they call voice over IP. So I just hook it up to my internet connection. And then that ties into my house. So I have phones in the house, and wireless phone. I could go out in the backyard and I get a phone call back way back in my patio. I'm soaking up some sun, listening to some music. Or they have an app that you can put on an iPhone. And that's a Wi-Fi phone. And like I say, Wi-Fi is ubiquitous these days. So when I go to the grocery store, I can make a call from the grocery store or get a call. So the only time you're really out of range is like in between stores, right? I think I said this the other day too. Everything I've said before, repetitive life. Humans aren't that complicated, It's the same old stuff all the time with everybody. If you think about it, even with your friends, I mean, you end up talking about the same old thing. It's like sports, right? We'll get into that in a second. But anyway, even in cars now, unless you're on a highway, but a lot of cars now have Wi-Fi built into them. So I wonder why, why even have a cell phone, cellular service, when for $40 a year, not a month, you could get the, something like this. Probably 90% of the time, you're covered. But yeah, back to like silly human stuff. Yeah, sports. I was never a big sports person. I played sports. I was in grade school. I played football. When I was in high school, freshman year in high school, I played football. I was going to play sophomore year, but I started playing in a band and stuff, and just wasn't my scene. It was like, I don't know. It's like you have to make that decision in high school, whether you're going to be a jock or a rocker, and I chose the rock and roll route. But, my family, they were all, my dad and my brother, they were sports guys, every time I'd come in the house, my dad would be watching some kind of football game, baseball game, or basketball game, depending on what the season was. I just didn't, even when I went to college, I used to go to football games because of the, tailgating and the whole spectacle of it. But, I'd kind of semi get into it. But, the thing, I have this thing about, purpose, like doing things, accomplishing a thing, and then being satisfied that you did it. And the thing with sport, like this is how my whole life has been. Like I mentioned the word being a fixer yesterday, but I mean, it was the idea is a lot of places I was like this consultant or, a person that would come in and was a problem solver. And I get a kick out of that. That was my driving force, in doing things. And what got me about sports was that, well, I don't care whether it's, amateur, college, professional sports, is you go through all this thing throughout this whole year. And then it leads up to some kind of championship, whether it's a Super Bowl or some kind of playoffs, March Madness, whatever it is, World Series, whatever the thing is. And then they start all over again. And to me, and to you might say that might mean nothing, like, well, so what? But to me, it was like, well, okay, so what did you really win? You spent a whole year doing a thing. And, now you got to start all over again. It may seem like petty or insignificant or whatever, but it's like, no. It's like people who say life is about the journey or something like that. What is that? Life is about experiencing, and growing and, perceive more and more, It's not about just like being a repetitive waste. So every time I would get a job, I'd always, in fact, as you know, speaking of radio, you know, I was a general manager of a radio station, and I was hired. At the time, the station was losing money. It was literally losing, like bleeding money, I mean. And I don't know how many employees they had, but they had a bunch of employees. And, you know, must have been a dozen. There might have been a dozen full-time employees. I don't know what it was. And the salespeople weren't selling. They were mostly satellite, like a satellite oldies station or something like that, and a crappy satellite oldies station, not like a really not even well programmed, and the sound wasn't good over the air, so nobody was paying attention to that. And the place was trashed. You know, it was just trashed. So I had a couple of meetings with ownership. And, you know, since I had a radio background, this was later on. This was actually, it was one of the more recent. This was like before the advertising agency creative director thing, right before that. That was like the last time I was paid, got a salary from somebody else, right? Most of the time I was just doing my own things or something. And I said, well, I'll clean it up. I said, you know, I'll turn that place around. And so I went in and I just went. It's really interesting how I did this. Like, it's to freak people out. So I went in with the ownership and they introduced me to people. Like, I don't know if they introduced me as like a consultant or whatever. He's going to be working with us, blah, blah, blah. And I used to, for like the first week or so, I just went in and there was like a Studio B type of place in the back because they weren't using even Studio A really. Or Studio C actually is where I was in. There was like 3 studios technically. Studio C had become like a cloakroom almost. I mean, it hadn't been used. And this is a radio station back in the, you know, that went way back. You know, it had the history and it had that Art Deco. In fact, that on-air sign is from that radio station physically because I remodeled the front. And when I remodeled the front, I ended up with an extra on-air light. Just the way, because it used to be one, I put in a lobby kind of area because there was, when you just like walked in and you were in this place. So I wanted to like close it off to have like a reception area. They didn't have like a reception area. It was really weird, right? So I just went in this first week or so. I forget how long. It might have even been 2 weeks. And I would just go in and I would go through files and I'd go into this like Studio C and sit on a chair and lay this stuff out on one of the, you know, counters. And I was just looking over everything from the financials to the list of advertisers to the employee records, you know, some technical stuff. I was checking out the transmitter. You know, I was looking at they were using something called a Smartcaster at the time, which is it's a computer basically that takes a signal from a satellite. You know, you have a satellite service that's giving you a, you know, like in their case, this oldies theme. And so that comes down and the music plays, but in there are these like inaudible signals. And they, you know, they basically, it's tied into this computer and that computer then plays like when it's a commercial break, or if it's just like some liner or station ID or whatever it is, that they're activated, right? And you could put things in and program that. And they had it very loosely programmed, and it was one of the cheaper systems. I mean, I don't know if what the company's doing today. Out of curiosity, I could look just for the hell of it. See if they're still in existence. That'd be interesting. Let's see here. Let's see. Smart broadcasting system. Be your own broadcast. I don't know if I think that company might, I don't know. They may or may not be in business. It almost looked like that was for consumers. So it came to the day where I said, okay. And, and the guy who was like, they didn't really have the guy who was a manager who was kind of managing the place. I basically came to him and said, you're fired. And he was like freaking out because the guy was making like, I don't know, whatever it was, 30-some thousand, $40,000 or whatever his salary was, but he wasn't doing anything. So he got fired. And then there was this kid. It literally was a kid, like a young guy. I think he was the grandson of the engineer, and the engineer was like almost 80 years old. He was a really old guy. He had set up the microphones for like when JFK came to that town and stuff. That's how far he went back, the engineer. And anyway, so I gave this kid a chance. I said, look, we're going to go live for a couple hours a day because this kid served no purpose. And I put him on the air because he thought he was a DJ. I guess he was one of these guys who DJ'd on the weekends or something like that, places, events. Excuse me. And he totally sucked. And I said, you're fired. And then one of the hardest things for me to do was there was this very old woman who had worked there for many, many years who was like the secretary. And I basically told her, I said, look, I think, maybe you might want to consider retiring. Because I was basically going to turn this into a rock station. I wanted to move up in the market. I was a go-getter. I'm the fixer, right? They had like a lazy salesperson, had a couple accounts, but like I said, the station was losing money. I told her to start looking for another job. And whoever else was there, I think there was somebody, a traffic coordinator. That's the person that kind of figures out where, keeps track of the commercials and the receipts and all that kind of stuff, like when a thing's played or not, what a commercial run is and places the spots in the various, time slots available. And he or she, I think it was a she or something, was useless. And so basically what I ended up doing was I fired everybody. And I literally had to fire everybody. It was horrible. And I brought in a whole new, because while I was there, I was advertising for people and interviewing in like that Studio C. These people's eyes were looking like they'd see people come in and me talking to them. And within a year, I turned that station around. It was like a presence in the community. I brought it back. And that, to me, that was fun. And I gave like a 60-day notice. I said, I'm done. I mean, in the midst of all that, I told some other stories in previous, videos about that. But going to conventions and different things like that, which was always fun. Radio conventions, NAB, National Association of Broadcasters, and stuff like that. But yeah, that was that. Only 72%. This is the slowest charge I've ever seen in my life. But I think it's charged enough. I'm going to give it 5 more minutes. It's 6:29 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. My ice cubes are melting. There's a little over an hour left in this program. This is a very boring show for people just listening to some goofy ass stories. So if we don't do this call in, I'll be very disappointed. So I think I'm just going to have to wing it and hope that the phone, that this charge thing is just not a factor, because I have no idea why it's doing that. I can't play games. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this phone, get my app going, make sure this volume's down on here. And I have rigged up a device it's pretty crazy. It's like I told you what I did with those people when I was doing the coverage of expeditions from the Himalayas and stuff. Let's see here. Where is this guy? See if we can hear him. I can hear him. Hello? Hey, are you awake?
I'm awake.
Well, you're live on the air.
Wow.
It's
What time?
What time is it? It's well, it's 6:30 Eastern time here. I know I just reread your email and I realized you wanted to get up later. But I guess I misread it yesterday. I was thinking 6.
I have to get my monitors on. I need to turn on. I'm going to put on a smart TV and see how smart it is to see if I can actually talk and monitor at the same time.
Yeah. Well, there will be a slight delay, you know.
Yeah. Let me get my remote control. Hold on a second. Here we go. Wow. So, and nobody knows it. So we're live, and you actually have done it. And we're on YouTube live streaming, and nobody knows.
I know. Yeah, that's the way it is. Yeah, I know. It's amazing that with the technology.
Hey, are you on the computer too?
What's that?
You're sitting there. You can do anything, right?
Yeah, I can do anything.
Okay, so go open up a window and go to Google and type in Barefoot Liquor, Kansas, Oklahoma. And let's see what comes up. So bring it up and check it out.
Well, the only thing is I don't have the capability when I'm doing this live thing.
Oh, no, you don't have to show that, but I want you to see it.
Do they have a Facebook page?
Yes, they do.
This is the guy.
I want. I want to see a Google Maps. We're looking for a Google Maps with a 5-star rating, 3 reviews, 2 liquor stores, one on top of the other, being Rockin' Liquor.
Yeah, Rocker
Kansas.
Liquor. There's a horse in front of the place on their Facebook page. Let's see. 340 U.S. Highway 59, Kansas, Oklahoma. Rock R Liquor.
Yeah, that's the one. But we want to see Barefoot Liquor.
Okay, Barefoot Liquor LLC. Let's look at that. That's just their. Let's see. Go to their website. Company name. Company contacts.
You could. I made a domain out of it. I took the domain Barefoot and put .icu for intensive care unit because there's a canna shop and a liquor store, so they own both right next to each other, right in town. So I can get all the booze and all the weed I want.
So what's it called? Barefoot ICU.
Yeah.
Well, let me just do that.
Barefoot ICU. But what I did is I got it set up in the Google Maps, and then I had to go and do reviews.
Oh, I see.
You know, to be some different people to review it. But once it gets kicked in, then the Google Maps generates this letter, and it's all, you have this layout. It's really interesting.
Yeah, I see it.
And then you can go to them, and then they have to claim ownership. And once they claim ownership, you have it up there into Google Maps. And all you have to do is be a local guide and go around and you can create these things. I don't think anybody really even knows it. You can go out there and create a thing, put a little dot on it. All you need to do is connect it to a website. So I got the website for $10. And I just went in and did the free simple site. Then I connected it. Once you have a website connected, then you can go and put the website, and that's what connects the whole thing in Google Maps together. It's really kind of a weird deal.
Yeah, we just did one for that place. I don't know if you were in it. You were in it with me because we had lunch there one time when you were up this way. The Coney up in Indiana. The Coney, it was an Irish pub restaurant.
Oh, yeah. I remember the Coney in Indiana where the school was.
We just did... Tracy did it actually, but I started it. We did one of those. We did the exact same thing. We moved there because they wanted to be able to change their menu themselves. So the only option was to go with a Google site because, you know, as long as you log in, you know, they could change because they constantly change the price of their menu and it was a pain in the ass and they didn't want to pay for it. So it was exactly the same thing. They took their Coney URL, or she did, and she got all that figured out and built it onto Google Sites. And and then because you're tied into Google, because you're tied into Google, see, that's the one benefit about Google. You're going to be hot. You're going to You're in the search engine. You're up there in hot, and you're also on the maps.
Yes. I mean,
my website, TonyCaravanLive.com is on Google Sites now. You know, that's what I did.
When you have, let's see, who was it? I had a site that, if you're on there, you're going to get whatever. You don't have to do anything. You remember how you used to do these meta tags and you put
right.
And you put it all over and it'll all be a source. All this stuff. Well, if you're at Google and you're the registrar and you're registraring them and you got the free site and everything is, I mean, they're right. You can get this site and you don't even pay anything for privacy.
Yeah, right.
Google,
and they even tell you
like $5 for privacy. They'll make you pay $15 for this, $15 for that.
Right.
As weirdos as they are.
Yeah, and they even tell you. It's even in YouTube, the way Google works now. They even tell you that you can use meta tags, but that they're not really helpful. And the only reason to use meta tags now is if you have a name, like say it was Tatu and it was TATU, and they would recommend that you put Tatu, the normal spelling of tattoo and another, and some, like potato, patata type of thing. They say the only reason you should use a meta tag is if someone there would be a common misspelling of what your URL is.
Oh, I see. Yeah, that would be good.
And they'd say otherwise don't use a meta tag because it does nothing. And in fact,
I switched the.
Yeah, still there?
Yeah, I was saying that I switched the. I forgot what I was saying. I know that I went and I got the. I switched out of Google. I mean, out of what's that place? GoDaddy, because they were over there, and I don't know who bought them. I think they bought them in India or something.
I haven't moved. I'm forwarding to Google Sites because I still haven't figured out how to get totally over there. Like, in other words, because I still have like 3 or 4. I don't know how many domains I have. I still have some GoDaddy sites over there, but I never had hosting anyway. I just forwarded them. And I was grandfathered in with this free email because when you used to on GoDaddy, they used to give you like 100 emails. It was weird. Right. Remember that? And for some, they discontinued that now. You don't even get email if you sign up with GoDaddy now. You have to pay extra for it.
Yeah, and Google does give you. Google will give you the aliases.
Right.
But they charge you $6 per name. But you can do it for $6 a month. You've got one domain. You wanted to manage it and just play a little, game in the search engine. I mean, that's all this guy really wants. He wants it so when he comes, because it's going to be, the season. Everybody's going to be looking for booze, and the tourists will be around, and so he just wants it to come up. If it says liquor, we got it to pop up. Doesn't really need a menu or anything. And you got the weed maps for the canna store, so you don't really need a menu there. It's just a matter of just having a domain and the name, and it sits there, and you try to connect it all together so that when somebody does a search in Google Maps, it pops up.
Right. It's a beautiful thing.
I did the same thing with sand, with Derek in a sand pit down in lower Oklahoma. There was this guy named JR. And then you got these big sand pits where these guys, are doing, thousands of dollars a day. And these guys got a little sand pit on the Canadian River, but this JR was coming up left and right. I went and I registered a weird domain. It was like, it's sand-okc.info. So it's sand.okc or dash.
Hold on a second. I'll look at it. Sands.
Yeah, look at it. Sand-okc.
Right.
.info. This is another Google Maps.
Sand $4.50 a yard, and the Google Maps is right there.
Yeah. And then you got, and then if you click on the other thing, it takes you to Derek's pit. So
I see that. Right.
Click on the telephone number, then you go to Derek's pit. So there's 2 websites. One is that sand. The other's really Derek's Pit's website. So if you click around, you see it just keeps pushing back the telephone number.
Right.
And after, like 3 weeks, and then it just his phone blew up.
That's cool.
Now it's like, people are calling him all the time. He's getting, it's just Phil Stand off the Canadian River, but all of a sudden he picked up and got all this crazy business just because of Google Maps.
Yeah, Google Maps is the thing. I mean, that does work for people. There's no doubt about it. I'm doing a search on my thing, trying to see if I have there's this new not new. Well, it is, I guess it's new, but there's a open source program called OBS or something that allows you to do some of these really cool effects, like these, where you can actually have stuff on the screen, you can have titles on the screen and all that stuff. And I was messing with it, but the quality of it was really crappy. And
have you figured out inside the simple sites of it. Have you done any? I know we were in there one day and you were messing around. So inside Google, there's simple sites, the free site. Have you opened it up and figured out any way that you can do anything without using their tools, their site builder?
No,
because I was having a rough time figuring out how to change the backgrounds. They only gave you six choices.
Yeah, it's kind of lame. I haven't really messed around with that too much. I mean, I also have great solar stuff on there. So I'm looking for a thing. We're gonna see if I can find this. I know. I hate Apple search. It stinks.
Yeah, it sucks. You can't find anything.
It never. The first thing, the most common thing, should
be the first thing, and not
right.
every
But instead, you get all this
file
weird system shit.
How did that happen?
I don't know. I don't know why they did
that up. I mean, isn't there supposed to be something that you can do? They have that stupid plus minus crap.
I was looking for a picture of you that I could print out and hold up so people could see who I'm talking to. Do you have a website?
Yeah, the worldfamous.com.
It's still up there.
It just takes you right back to YouTube. But that's another cool idea that I had. Instead of paying stupid, money to GoDaddy to register and to have a website, I mean, at this point, I just want a page.
Oh, okay. Let me just copy this.
It's gone up, though. Hey, I think that at GoDaddy, they were saying that it's up to the worldfamous.com, it's up to 4,700.
Well, I'll put that in the chat. I'll put that in the chat so it's there.
You got me 25 grand for tattoo.net.
Yeah, I know, that was amazing. They're not paying anything.
Really did anything with it. I thought all this time for 4 years. I really thought this. Honestly, I thought Bo bought it.
Yeah, well, we're also on.
I thought he bought it to help me out.
Yeah, well, we're broadcasting worldwide,
and then they hid it somewhere.
No, I kind of always had
it was somebody in San Diego.
I kind of had a feeling that the person that bought it just wanted it for the email. Somebody who had money. 25 grand is nothing to a multimillionaire.
Because I don't think, is there even a website there?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I'll double check, but I mean, let's see.
Go to my YouTube site and play one of my videos.
No, it's this site can't be reached.
You got to take a screenshot. Oh, well, let me do this.
But anyway, no, what I think it is I think the guy, in other words, if you wanted to have a cool email, right?
Right.
And you're a multimillionaire. So if you wanted to be, and I don't want to say it on here because I don't want people sending spam and then it coming back to me. But let's think of something different. Like say somebody wanted say you had cars.net, right? And you were Elon Musk or somebody. And you wanted to have an email, elon@cars.net or cars.com. And you just would say, but you didn't want to build a website, cars.com, because you weren't into that shit. Right. But you just wanted to be elon@cars.com. So you'd pay some dude, whatever it was, excuse me, to buy cars.net. You see what I mean? Yeah. So your email, you'd have this cool email. Like there's one I could tell you, I don't even say it on air because one time I got some idiot when I was I was doing commercials on Comcast. And I was sending the commercial. You'd send the commercials in through some thing, and I found a guy. some idiot accidentally replied all somebody at Comcast and sent all these high-end ad agency, people's emails out. Like it was, they screwed up. It was like, a lot of people don't know you invented spam, right? It's like that time you did reply all in the 90s.
Right.
And suddenly it was like, everybody was like, it was like, hey, Tatu, you invented spam because you spammed all these people. Everybody was pissed off.
Yeah, everybody was pissed.
Well, anyway,
I didn't know what I was doing.
Well, the things used to be right next to each other. It was like, reply all. It used to be right on the old whatever Netscape or whatever. All those browsers don't even exist anymore. And so some guy did something similar to that, and somebody had an email address, and I'm trying to think. I don't want to give this out because I don't want to, send them. I'm trying to think of a better way to do it, but I'll take it in a way to imagine if you had your email was like, if somebody called me T, right. So then people used to call me that sometimes years ago. So, hey, T, this will give you the idea, but this is totally not what it was. It was in a different thing. This guy's email, what would have been, for example, t@t.com. Like that's pretty cool, right?
Right.
t@t.com. And it's like that, in the early days when we used to, we had all those great frickin', domain names. We could have made $1 million on a couple of those things. And we could have bought up all those then. Back then you could get it. I mean, it was easy and nobody knew it. So we were fools.
It was free one time.
Right. We were fools.
For a year or two.
We were fools.
1 year.
I mean, I had a couple that I thought about that I just let go that could have sold. And then there was, we had that 3IA. I thought that was cool. The 3 Amiga.
Oh yeah, which is short ones.
Yeah, those are the ones that sold for the most money. Those were like,
Bo lucked out with getting the BOW.
So those are the ones that, and these guys, those are the ones everybody sold for $1 million. That's like anything else. I was babbling before about nonsensical radio crap, but yeah, can you hear
I just got it on TV now. I'm watching it on television.
But on your phone, do you hear can you hear that in your ear or not?
Yeah, I did hear just a little bit. It was like a click or something.
No.
Yeah, that was it.
Yeah. Because this thing I've set up.
Oh, I hear it.
It's kind of an interesting little device, and I have no idea where I got it, and I don't know if I can camera it at you. It's not going to reach. Damn it!
I remember.
I don't know. I don't know how I rigged this up. I found that I kept trying to do this. I'm using one of those regular, mixers, those bearing mixers. And I've got this weird device that's like a U-shaped. See if I can take a picture of it with my other iPhone. This thing might be out of power though. It's been sitting forever. The old brick iPhone.
It's about a 1 second delay too, or something, maybe in a second and a half.
I'm going to take a picture of this and show it over the screen. I show you the thing I'm using just for the hell of it. I forget where I got it. I don't even know what it would be called. I did this about a year or so ago. This old iPhone takes forever to start up. I'm just glad I got it to work. It had died.
Let me see if I can do that. I'm going to try this. I haven't done this in a while. I'm going to see if I can talk to you. Okay, you came right up. So let's see if I can talk to you and be on the phone at the same time and chat.
Yeah, you should be able to chat.
Okay.
Yeah, I got it. You know.
Oh, it did come through.
Yep. Yepper.
Okay, I see it. I wonder if. Oh, yeah, that's weird because I can still talk, hear you on the phone, and then see it come through on YouTube.
Yeah, if you've got the bandwidth, you know, you could do multiple things. So, yeah, let me get my camera on this thing, and I'm gonna have to use this to light it up with this thing. Let's see if I can get this to take a picture. It's so hard.
Hi, Twiggy. What are you doing? What's going on, Twiggers? I got one cat's awake.
All right, check this
One
out.
cat is awake. I'm up to 6 cats now.
Now, I don't know if
I'm
you
the cat lady. 6 cats.
see if we can get this. See, I don't know why the brightness. Let me just. There we go. Let's see if I can. If you look look real closely. Let's see if I can do this. There's this real bright thing. What the hell's that? iCloud backup. Forget that. There's this on the one side, there's this bright thing. That's the iPhone. And then there's this thing coming out of it that looks, it looks like that alien ship. It's like this U-shaped thing. Can you see like it's kind of a U-shaped thing that's going into the iPhone?
Okay.
I don't know if you can see it, but it's like a U-shaped thing. It's a crap. This is
I see it, but it's like hard to really.
Well, here we go. Let's see if I enlarge it more and maybe we'll get less glare. You see that? That's the device. It's this U-shaped thing, and one has the microphone. One goes to your input on your mixer, and one goes to your output.
Oh, okay.
And it goes into the iPhone, is able to somehow it's still built into the iPhone to allow you to do that. All right. This device does it. So I'm feeding the output into the mixer, and where's the input going? I don't even remember.
Yeah, you know what happens is it's just the screen light and the camera.
Yeah, I know. It
just blows it out.
It's sucky. I got to charge this phone. But anyway, I figured it out. I remember it was like a major operation. I wasted money, bought a couple of different things. And then finally I found this thing and it worked. And so can't talk.
Yeah, well, that's good. It's the
well. I look at the whole setup is like. I mean, I've got sound effects. I could take calls, and you know what I mean. It's ridiculous, and I'm just doing, and it just works. It's crazy.
Now, if we can just get like 1,000 people to come over and just listen to us talk about nothing.
They just don't give a shit. People don't give a shit. You know what they want? They want.
They don't care about anything.
You know, it's like I watch all these. I used to watch these like homesteading or different type of videos, DIY shit and stuff like that. I've talked about this before. All these people, they're all monetized to begin with, and they've all become like YouTube millionaires.
Right.
And so everything, and every show is they buy something. Hey, look, I just bought my wife a new Jeep such and such, or we just got a new this, that, the other. And it's like show and tell, and it's like in your face. And to me, I don't see how that, but you know, people are such functionally illiterate morons today that they want to like, oh yeah, that's cool. I think it's in your face and it's like, fuck you. You know, I don't want to see, I don't want, you know, you're just showing, you know, all these people. Why don't you just show us do some work? It's like there's one guy, you know, one guy bought his own plane. Imagine how much money he made on YouTube. They were living in a trailer, right? Okay. And they were supposedly building this house, and that was the whole thing. And they did that for.
I saw that. How much money did this guy make?
Well, he bought himself a frickin' plane, and they've stopped basically doing videos now. I guess they became millionaires. They probably don't even live in the house that, you know, I was waiting for them to finish, right? They probably moved into some, you know, mansion somewhere or some condo at the, you know, a resort. I've seen a lot of that stuff. I mean, is PewDiePie even on anymore? Did he quit? I don't even know if he is still on. Though he was kind of funny. I thought he was all right. But no, these other people, I don't know. People don't give a shit about like talking. You know, they don't they don't want to know stuff.
I think that the way that really is kind of interesting is how well, like, let's use Doug TenNapel, for example, where they shut down both of his sites for, you know, saying things like whatever those key words are.
Yeah, right. Don't say them.
The election fraud or this or that.
Well, don't say it. Don't say it, man, because they'll stop this right now. They've done that to me.
They will. Gotta be careful. That's what I can't even believe. Yeah, I mean, even on the Google Maps, let's go back to that for a second. So if you call yourself, if you're a cannabis shop, they put it in there. They've got cannabis shops, but people want to be listed as health, you know, because or medicine, right? Because it's medical marijuana. You see that?
Right.
Okay. But if you put that down, then automatically, if you put down anything other than cannabis shop, you'll get tagged with the COVID information thing.
Yeah, right. You can't even mention that word either. Don't even mention that. See that you mentioned two words that could have this video like banned by the end of the thing. You can't mention that thing. I call it the thing. And you can't, you know, in other words, you just can't mention it. They hear that word. The C word. You can't mention the C word. You can't mention the E word. You can't mention any of that kind of thing. They'll just take your video right down. You know, because they
hear it.
Well, it's algorithm. It's an algorithm. See, whenever you see, like, if it looks like I have 3 people listening, right, or something like that, there's one of those people is always the algorithm. The reason I know that is sometimes in the morning there's like one person, and then when I'm done the video and I go to close out of it, go to live, to share it on some social sites just to get, you know, wider audience. It says on the YouTube studio, it says 0 views, which means the one that was there while I was broadcasting was just the algorithm searching for, making sure I didn't say a key word. That's how it works. So what are you doing with these cats?
Wait a second. Okay. I'm making coffee right now.
No, but I mean these cats. What do? You like raise them and?
Oh, I just have to feed them. That's all. I give all the cats a little. I know about cats. Let me tell you something. I got the rescue, second chance rescue, going, man. You know, and they're domesticated cats, and I got some kittens that are domesticated. Or you got your feral cats. So I take them down to Spay, Arkansas. That's a 35-minute trip after I trap them in the cage. $12. I get them fixed, bring them back. They stay in the cage overnight, and then I release them back into the colony.
Oh, I see.
And then some of them are so damn cute, like the 2 that were on my steps. I had to keep them. Jack and Jill.
Yeah, well, I still got my cat.
There's something else, man.
So I've been
Yeah.
I've been playing this thing lately.
You got a rattlesnake inside your house. You got a rattlesnake inside your house. Oh, yeah.
There's just one in here?
Yeah, I hope.
I hope. The rattlesnake. Did that come over your TV?
What is it?
The rattlesnake inside your house? Did you hear that?
Oh, yeah. That's just so weird.
They sound like tiny kittens.
Get on YouTube. Talk. Meow for me. Oh, deadbeat. Oh, you kitties. Oh, thanks. All right.
Well, anyway.
After they munch, they're gonna take the cat nap.
Yeah, well, my cat wakes me up about 3 times during the night. Or if I get up, it's like crawling around in the bed.
Right.
I'm a light
too.
I'm a light sleeper. But
yeah, little Jilly Bean, she likes to try to get in between the cover and the sheet.
Yeah.
And then just kind of crawl down and bug you.
Right. Especially if it's like cold, a
She
little
don't mean nothing.
cooler.
She's not trying to cause any trouble.
No, they're not trying to cause any trouble. It's just their way. It's what they do. It's their thing.
They want to dig their heads under the covers. Then they want to peek out. Cats are funny, aren't they? I wonder how long it takes for these kittens. That's what I was curious about, because I got them at about 6 weeks, 7 weeks. How long it takes before they know their name? I know that the older ones, they know their name. They won't really look at you, but they'll come to their name. When their ears twitch, I think they know their name. They say their name. But they're not at quite a year yet.
Well,
One more month.
I forget what it is, but I remember hearing it one time. They have about, it's less than a dozen. It might be less than 10. There's like less than 10 things, different kinds of things that they speak, that they know among themselves, and they'll speak to you. Like there's a certain kind of cry thing that is food related. There's another kind, they have like so many things, and then they could there's a limited amount of things that they understand, like like you could like no or whatever in their name. They're not like dogs, where like dogs you could you can train. I have trained my cat to understand a couple of things, like it knows about, in fact, let's see if it's here. Yeah, if it's here, it probably will even do it, or come over here or something, which will be a disaster because I've got stuff. But if it's hanging out in the bedroom, my bedroom, the front room gets sun, my bedroom doesn't. And if I say, hey, the sun's out, look at the cat and go, the sun's out, go look out the window, the sun's out, right? The cat will like go. It figures it out because cats like to lay in the sun. And if I say up, it knows to jump up. It'll do that.
Oh, well, that's, I think I think the older cats around here know that.
Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a handful of things that you can teach them, but they're not like dogs where you could really, dogs, I think dogs, it's almost like double what you could teach a cat,
Right. I mean, I know that there's funny things about them that are, it's the one thing that I noticed that you don't notice until you really start getting into it. And you might notice it with, having just a few cats, but when you got more, it's just that how spooked they are about how sound is, you start realizing that sound is really, it's amplified for them. The two things that's really amplified, I think, is sound and smell. They can smell like probably miles away.
Yeah, well, that's a weird thing. Yeah, so
Within
can
their smeller, they could tell you you could have your cat upstairs and you could be downstairs and pop a can of food or rustle.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, that's the same with like chipmunks, though, or mice. Or even bugs. I always tell people, okay, you know how that's my anti-technology thing. You know, we don't spend any time trying to figure out our senses. But you got like eagle eye or a hawk that's way up in the sky, and it can see a mouse, you know, that distance, whereas we couldn't, right?
Right.
Or even roaches or a bug or something can sense something, you know, or a mouse can smell something a mile away, or these animals. And yet they are compared to our noses, right? And the size of our brains. So like, we're like kind of programmed and conditioned to not use our senses to the full extent. Whereas these things, most creatures just use they're not conditioned, so they just use their senses to the fullest capability. But you would think with, you know, us having bigger brains, bigger eyes, you know, that we would be able to have better vision and all that stuff. But it's the way we're conditioned. It's like this one guy saying we don't see the world the way it really is, because if we did, it would get in the way of our reproducing ourselves or something like that. No, in other words, it would be too much. So we only see, hear, smell, and stuff over the years what we need to reproduce and to maintain a function, you know, in our society. But we're capable of much more. That's interesting, guys. This is like a whole field of science right now. And so animals, we definitely, you know, we can do more. You could do it yourself. You know, if you ever, you know, you see the old timers, you know, they do this. Hey, they put their hand by their ear. Hey, what'd you say? But I mean, if you cup your ear, you obviously have a conical. It's like a cat or a dog ear. You hear better. I was going to sell these things made out of paper once and call them dog ears, and it was to be a thing that just wrapped on your ear. And so if you ever you were out in the woods or you were somewhere and you wanted to hear better, you just slip these like paper cone shaped things on your ears, and you'd have this better hearing. Yeah. Nobody ever did that either. I was going to do that. It's another one of these.
I mean, when I walk around in the woods here, I go, I like to wear like these little muffs that I got, and then you flip them out. You sort of flip them out, and you can
hear better. So anyway, I put a radio picture of an old receiver up as the title card for this show, since I figured we'd be talking.
Oh, these kids, these cats.
But it ended up being a cat show, so I guess I should have put up a picture of a cat.
Hey, well, so the turkey buzzards came out too. You know, you don't have to probably have turkey buzzards up there in Johnstown.
No.
I don't know. Maybe you do. I haven't looked, but they're real big. You know, they're just huge, like a Mississippi kite or something. When they got their wings expanded, they kind of look like a condor when they're at the top of the pine trees. Where I have pine trees, big old, 180-year-old pine trees up here, because it's at the foothills of the Ozarks. So these things, like they just kind of cruise around. It looks like I got some condors, and it's unusual that they're that low, because if the sun's out, which it hasn't out for a month for some reason, but when it does pop out and they're coming by, it's like, big old giant, some kind of a bird in the sky. It's a pterodactyl.
Well, there's like,
but what they do is they can see real small. So
well, that's what I'm trying to say.
This So I got woodpeckers. I got these woodpeckers. They're going up and down the tree. So there's these baby woodpeckers, and they're not that big, and they got a little stripe on their head. But woodpeckers are pretty big with the red stripe on their head, right? So I give them this suet stuff, and they feed off of that. And I got nuthatches, and they're going up and down the tree. I'll have to do a video, and you can play it sometime. But these things can see the woodpeckers, the baby woodpeckers, and then they just come swooping down. And I wish I would have had a camera going, because when their talons are down, they're like a frickin' owl, and they
I know.
spin like a B-1 bomber.
Yeah, I've had to think. See,
right in the middle of the air.
See, I'm in the neighborhood, so I don't have any trees like I don't have any trees like that. But I'm in a neighborhood. But because I feed birds in my backyard, the hawks and all those kinds of whatever the hell they are, these giant birds that just are up in the sky, you see them circling around. They they can see these. They eat like 4 little birds. They eat birds, they eat 4 birds a day, they say, like hawks even or something, or owls or whatever. But one day I was looking out my back window and I saw this thing come down, and it looked like there was an airplane. It looked like there was a small airplane in my yard coming down.
Complete silence.
Right. That's how big their wingspan is. And if you don't, people that don't see that, because they always see them so high up, but when they come down, and then there was one thing, I think they call them chicken hawks or something. I don't know. But one day,
I've heard that name.
One day I saw one walking in my backyard, and it was looked like, because it had the legs and the body. It was almost like a chicken, but it was taller. It was as tall, it was almost like 2.5 feet tall, or like a little kid or something, the height of it. And it was just walking along, the grass. And it was like, man, those things are big. You wouldn't want to, it'd easily pick up a cat. I mean, a small dog, but you wouldn't want to be around it. You wouldn't want to be around them either, because those things they're like that thing's scary. I mean, their beaks are alone and their talons are big, they could do some serious damage to you if they wanted to. But yeah, I've seen that one time when I saw this thing swoop down. It probably grabbed one of these birds from my bird feeder or something. I didn't see it. It was so fat. It was like a small plane came through the yard. It was weird.
It is wild, and the sun's out, and they're up in the air. It's like the shadow they cast. I feel like I'm in some kind of a movie, because they swoop around before they come down on the tree. Right. And they kind of circle like the buzzards they are.
Yeah, it's weird stuff, man.
When I went through the owl stage, though, you're right. Those owls are they're the wildest ones, man. They can just tear things up.
Ended up being a discussion of cats and big birds. Put that in the description. Early West. I changed the title of this show to
Big Birds. Yes, you got to have the big birds.
Big birds, cats.
Oh yeah, now it's about 5 seconds behind.
Radio ramblings.
Wow.
5-second delay.
That's about 5.
Yeah.
And it's different on the television than it is off the phone. So the phone's about 3 seconds.
Well, that's because yeah. Well, you're probably also eating up your own bandwidth or something too. You got 2.
I'm doing it this way just to experiment. So the television is going through the fantastic 5, what is it? Megabits per second. 5.
Right.
That's what my downward bandwidth is.
That's all.
On my T-Mobile, G5 thing on this Apple phone, I'm able to get more like 60.
Yeah. Well, I get like 40 some. The last time I did a speed test, I'm only like six or seven up and something like 40 plus down. And I pay almost $100 a month for just internet because that's all I have. I don't have TV anymore. I got like,
yeah, well, these guys are ripping me off too. They're ripping me off.
And speaking of collections, I got a collection notice from DirecTV. I sent my DirecTV box back in like end of November and stuff and quit them, paid my final bill and stuff like that. And they were sending me as late as January and February saying, your service will be disconnected if you don't pay this bill. And I like talked to their customer service and their stupid chat bots. And, you know, they're like, okay. And I even have a receipt. In fact, I have it here. I even have like the receipt from like the UPS store where I sent back the box. And I get this collection notice. So I sent a copy of it to the collection people, Exhibit A, Exhibit B. I haven't heard back from them today. Probably get it in the mail today. The sheriff will knock on the door and say, you got it. Here's a magistrate's suing you for DirecTV. But I didn't know if I didn't tell you this, or I said it online, I think once. I got myself somehow, speaking of helps and all that, I actually broke down and got myself a credit card. I kept getting these credit card applications, right?
Right.
And I finally got one that was like a Capital One Walmart type of card with 5% cash back and low interest. I figured my credit's completely shot, right? And I said, what the fuck? I'm going to do it because why not? I'll have one credit card. And they sent it to me. So I didn't check my credit rating because I don't want to like do that because that could set off something, you know, but
right. I'm not.
But I took the
what's going on anymore.
But I got it and I've used it. And so whatever that helps, put it that way.
Well, it did help. What it didn't help on was whoever these people are, and they seem to know more. I mean, I could get into the details of it.
Well, you don't have to.
It's just so crazy. But basically, they seem to know a little bit more. So it's a particular collection company, I guess, that a lot of people know about. I don't know. I guess we don't even want to say their name,
right?
But they're an acquisition company, so they go and they acquire from the merchant that claims you owe them $2,000. So they'll go and they'll acquire it, and if they can get, maybe they buy it for $1,000 if they think they can.
No, they buy it. They less than that. They probably buy it for $200.
Maybe they buy it for $100.
Right.
But then they go out and this one, I don't know if they go to Oklahoma City and they get some other lawyers that maybe they're like ambulance chasers.
Yeah. I had that. See, I had that with
the debt collectors that are the second ones down because the merchant's already sold off and written off the debt.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean,
so then they get the lawyers, and then they try to do that same thing that Eric explains, the judgment deal. And then if you don't have any assets or anything else, you are judgment proof, and you got the homestead exemption stuff because my name is on something. So they really can't do jack squat. And even if they do go for the debtor's exam, which is the last thing, that's when Eric said, well, he'll represent me for free.
Right.
And I said, well, that's great. Well, whatever. I didn't talk to Eric, but I talked to everybody else in there. I guess I got them all upset. I don't know if you called, but yeah, they were all like real apologetic and everything. I don't know where everybody was, but I don't really care. I just was asking a question. I wanted to know what was next. Am I going to get the whole exam?
Yeah, the whole reason I did the Capital One thing was to stick it to Capital One, because back in the 90s, Capital One put me through hell. They did the same thing. They went through a lawyer and at a magistrate, and I was getting a registered letter and I show up at the magistrate, and I showed up, and then their lawyer never showed. But they automatically win the case. You don't win the case. Like if you don't show, the judgment goes against you. But the way the courts, because the lawyers write the laws, but if the lawyer doesn't show, that doesn't mean anything. So then like about a couple of weeks later, I got another registered mail saying with a magistrate date collection from this Capital One bill that I allegedly owed them from like, I don't know, the late 80s or something. And so I go to the magistrate again, and I had by this time I had like paperwork, like, cause and I go in there and they didn't show again. And so I like railed, the magistrate was right next door to me where I used
I remember that.
And so I went in to the magistrate and I just read the riot act to him because I didn't give a shit. And I said, look, man, this is totally fucked up. And he said, well, look, I'm not going to deal. Oh, I sent a letter to the state attorney general. And I said, and she called me back, or her assistant called me back. And I said, I'm being victimized by this company. They're saying I owe them like $300 or $400 or something like this from something. And it's like from like 20 some years ago or whatever it was. Yeah, and she contacted the magistrate and read him and basically said, that this was screwed up. So he said to me when I was there the second time I showed up and they never appeared, he said, well, I'm not going to take it again. But here's the kicker. A couple of weeks later, this lawyer did it again, but this time I was supposed to go to the county courthouse and appear in court for this like alleged thing, right? Despite, so I ended up having to go to a fucking lawyer, all right? Because I wasn't going to go to the county courthouse and deal with this stuff. So I get this lawyer and I ended up paying him, I don't know what it was, but it was almost half the amount. It was at least a couple $100. He said, don't worry, I'll go deal with the whole thing, blah, blah, blah. And he dealt with it, and that was the end of it. All right. But so when I got this thing from Capital One who put me through hell, and I go, you know what? I'm thinking ultimately screw these guys. My idea is that I go, these are the guys that played this game with me. Well, I'll take a Capital One card just to show what a freaking circus lie and how corrupt and fucked up the system really is. So yeah, I have a Capital One credit card after they did it, but I still lost out because it was like $200. I ended up paying a lawyer to get out of the deal. I mean, that was way before. Well, I couldn't have. I was too young at that point to deal with helps or anything.
Right.
But yeah, see, now Pennsylvania is not a homestead type state. So what you do here, according to Eric, is like if they put a judgment on you, you just like that. He says they won't exercise it; they'll just do it. And maybe when the house is sold, there might be something like that. But I don't worry about that.
That's the idea.
I'm never.
Well, that's the idea. How long can they leave that it would be a lien on that?
Right. And the thing is, I don't have one, but if I end up getting one, if it happens, I really don't give a shit because I have no intention of ever selling this house. I mean, I'm just going to, I'll die here. And if they want this piece of shit, when I'm dead, they can have the fucker. I don't care, but yeah, so it's weird, but I think what helps did, because for me, in order to get a credit card, my credit rating must have gone up, which means helps is various letters to these creditors must have basically got them to just take them off my credit report. In other words,
well, that's what happened. He said, if you watch his videos and we've talked to him, that's usually what has been the thing that happens. You get, you get them taken off.
Here, look. Speaking of cats, might be a little bit of a delay. Want to say hi?
That Blackie.
Yeah. He's burned.
Yeah, I've got one. We've got one black cat that's an outdoor cat. I didn't open the door.
I actually wanted to get another cat. He's not that old, but he's getting older. And I wanted to get another cat so he'd have a companion and that he can train the ways of this house. Because I have like cat doors. Because I don't care. Let's say the beauty of owning a house is that you don't give a shit. Your own place. You want to put a hole in the wall, you put a hole in the wall. You know, but I have like, I sawed on like, I think I have 3 different doors. I sawed on the bottom of my doors. I sawed open, you know, a cat thing. And I just put like a piece of, you know, some kind of material or something there. Just, you know, so the cat, he's trained. Because like I close my bedroom door at night because he used to constantly be in and out. And if it was wintertime, you know, I'd wake up and I'd get this cold breeze or something. So I closed my door at night. So he used to use a cat door. And I used to live in the front room, so I have a cat door there, but I moved to the back room. Nice belch on the air. And I have one downstairs because I used to close the downstairs door. But he doesn't go outside. He's an indoor cat. Anyway, discussion of cats. So anyway, we're getting up to the
our cat. Nobody's going outside, I guess.
Nah, well, I had a problem.
Bizarre, though, because the other cats, so it's like the mom and the pop. The mom, you know, we already took her down, got her fixed, her hair's clipped. But the dad is still in the feral colony, but he's a domesticated cat, so he's really not a feral cat that somebody just dumped without being fixed. So he's one of the cats that are going around getting them impregnated. That guy. Then he hasn't been able to eat, so you know. And I wasn't going to feed him because I don't want him up here spraying after we got rid of the.
Why are you telling us
other
this?
Cat and got him fixed. In fact, so far we fixed 10 cats. 10. We were getting them done for $12 though, especially during COVID, because somebody was PetSense or PetSmart was picking up another.
You said the word. You said the word.
$24.
You said the word.
Oh.
You said the word.
You're listening to Tony Caravan Live.
Anyway, Rob, here's the deal. We're getting to the 2-hour point. So I guess we're going to call this wrap up this show. So good talking.
We don't want to talk about anything. We don't want to talk about all the crazy stuff.
So I will just do it again sometime. We're hitting the 2 hours. I'm at 1:58. We're hitting 2 hours. So good morning. We're going to end the show right now. Thanks for people watching this in the future. And
I saw there was somebody watching, but we should.
Yeah, we'll do it again. Well, next time we'll next
camera or something.
Yeah, I might be able to. It is possible to do a FaceTime thing. I might be able to have a FaceTime appear in the back. I don't know. I'll have to experiment with that and see if that's possible.
You can figure it out. You can figure it out if anybody.
So anyway, all right, man. Good talking to you, bro. Okay. I'll talk to you soon. Cheers. Take it easy.
Okay.
All right. Bye.
Okay, later.
That's that. We'll talk to you soon.